There's a version of you that died years ago, and nobody told you. You're walking around carrying a corpse of who you thought you'd become, and the weight is crushing you. Let me tell you something that'll probably sting, but you clicked on this for a reason. Deep down, you already know what I'm about to say. You've been lied to about success, about happiness, about what actually matters. And the worst part, you participated in the lie. We all did. I've spent 40 years watching smart people make the same mistakes. Good people, talented people, people who did everything right according to the rule book, and they still ended up miserable. So either the rules are wrong, or we've been reading the wrong rule book. Spoiler alert, it's both. Truth one, your pain has an expiration date, but you keep renewing the subscription. You know what's hilarious? Not actually hilarious, but that dark kind of funny where you laugh or you'll cry. We hold on to pain like it's a limited edition collectible, like one day it'll be worth something. Like someone's gonna show up and say, "Wow, you've been suffering for 10 years straight? That's impressive. Here's your medal." Nobody's coming with a medal. I spent my 20s carrying around a breakup like it was a designer handbag. Showed it to everyone. Look how hurt I am. Look how deeply I feel. You know what happened? People got tired of hearing about it. Then I got tired of talking about it. Then I forgot what I was even angry about. But here's the kicker. I had already wasted 3 years being professionally wounded. 3 years I could have spent literally anywhere else, with anyone else, doing anything else. But no, I was too busy being the star of my own tragedy. Pain has a shelf life. The problem is we keep it refrigerated. You're not healing because you're still having imaginary arguments with people who forgot about you the day after it happened. You're rewriting history in your head like a bad screenwriter who keeps submitting the same rejected script. Here's what nobody tells you. That person who hurt you, they're not thinking about you. They're at brunch. They're laughing at memes. They moved on before you even started grieving. And you're still there, in that moment, pressing replay. Let it rot. Seriously, let it decompose. Let it become fertilizer for whatever grows next. Because something will grow. It always does. But only if you stop watering dead plants. And trust me, you've been watering a whole garden of corpses. Truth two, energy vampires are real, and you're probably dating one. Forget money, forget time, forget your 5-year plan. Energy is the only currency that actually matters. You think you're tired because you worked hard today? Maybe. But I'd bet my life savings you're tired because you spent 3 hours with someone who drained you, or you scrolled through content designed to make you feel inadequate, or you said yes to something your gut was screaming no about. Energy vampires don't announce themselves. They don't show up with fangs and a cape. They show up as your friend who only calls when they need something, as your coworker who turns every conversation into a therapy session, as your family member who treats you like an emotional dumping ground. And here's the thing, they're not bad people. They're just empty, and empty people pull from full ones. It's physics or psychology or both. I'm not a scientist. I'm just someone who learned this lesson at 40 instead of 20. I spent 15 years giving my best energy to people who gave me their worst. I'd show up prepared, engaged, thoughtful, ready to help. They'd show up distracted, complaining, needy again, and I kept doing it because I thought that's what good people do. Good people sacrifice. Good people show up even when it's hard. Good people give until it hurts. You know what actually happens when you give from an empty cup? You make two people tired, and then you resent both of them. I learned this after the migraine started, after I couldn't sleep, after I realized I was angrier at the people I was helping than at the people who actually hurt me. That's when I started guarding my energy like it was the last resource on earth. Because it is. You have maybe 3, maybe 4 hours of real focused creative energy per day, maybe. Everything else is maintenance mode. So who gets those hours? The loudest person? The neediest project? The thing you agreed to 6 months ago that makes 0 sense now? Or the thing that actually matters? I'm not saying become selfish. I'm saying become intentional. Some people fill you up just by existing near you. A 5-minute conversation leaves you energized, inspired, ready to tackle the world. Others drain you with a single text message. You see their name pop up and your whole body sighs. Start paying attention to who's who. And then, and this is the hard part, make the hard choice. Because saving everyone else while drowning yourself isn't noble. It's just stupid. And I say that with love, because I was stupid about this for decades. Truth 3. Nobody's coming to save you. And that's actually good news. This is the truth that breaks people, not because it's cruel, but because it's undeniable. You're waiting for the right moment, the right person, the right circumstances, for your boss to finally recognize your talent, for your partner to magically understand you, for the universe to align and whisper, now. Here's what's actually coming. Nothing. You know who saves you? You do. In the middle of the mess, with incomplete information. While you're still scared, while you still don't know what you're doing, I used to think there'd be a turning point. Some cinematic moment where everything clicked into place, where I'd wake up enlightened, fixed, complete. 40 years later, I'm still waiting for that moment. What I got instead were small decisions, tiny course corrections, 1,000 unremarkable choices that compounded into a completely different life. Nobody rescued me. Nobody handed me the answer. Nobody showed up with a map and a flashlight, and I just started walking, in the dark, toward what felt like forward. And here's the thing about walking in the dark. Your eyes adjust, not immediately, not comfortably, but they adjust. You learn to trust your feet. You stop needing to see the whole path. You just need to see the next step. And the next step is always visible. Always. People who succeed aren't smarter than you. They're not braver. They're not more talented. They just stop waiting. They stop waiting for the fear to disappear, for the confidence fairy to sprinkle magic dust, for someone to give them permission. They started messy. They started scared. They started anyway, because waiting forever is just a socially acceptable way to quit. And you didn't come this far to quit, did you? Truth 4. Your expectations are murdering your joy. You expected work to feel meaningful every single day. It doesn't. You expected love to stay easy forever. It won't. You expected success to feel like inner peace. It doesn't even feel like success most days. Most of your suffering comes from the gap between what is and what you thought should be. And here's the brutal part. You didn't even create most of those expectations. They were installed by parents, by movies, by 1,000 invisible messages about how life is supposed to work. But life doesn't read the script. I spent years disappointed with genuinely good things because they weren't perfect things. A good job felt like failure because it wasn't my dream job. A stable relationship felt boring because it wasn't passionate every moment. A normal Tuesday felt empty because it wasn't extraordinary. I was so busy mourning what wasn't that I missed what was. And what was? Actually pretty good. But I couldn't see it through the lens of expectation. Expectations are termites. They don't destroy your house in one dramatic moment. They just sit there, quietly eating the foundation, until one day, everything collapses and you're standing in the rubble wondering what happened. You think your partner should know what you need without you saying it. They won't. You think hard work guarantees success. It doesn't. You think being right wins arguments. It just makes you insufferable. These expectations aren't your fault, but they are your problem. The day I stopped asking, why isn't this perfect, and started asking, what's actually good about this, was the day I stopped suffering. Not because my life got better, because my lens cleared. There's always something good. You're just trained to look past it, and that training is killing you softly. Truth 5. People change in silence, and that's not betrayal. You don't notice someone becoming a stranger. It's not dramatic. There's no announcement, no clean break. One day you look up and your best friend believes completely different things. Your sibling lives by different values. Your parent feels like a distant relative you happen to share DNA with. They drifted, or you drifted. By the time you notice, you're already oceans apart. I've lost more relationships to silence than to conflict. Arguments at least give you something to repair. Silence just lets things dissolve like sugar in water. Slowly, quietly, completely. And here's the part nobody talks about. Sometimes that's okay. We're taught that losing people is always sad, always a failure, always something to fix. But sometimes people grow in different directions, and that's not betrayal. That's just nature. The friend you couldn't imagine living without at 25. At 40, you realize you have nothing in common except history. And history isn't enough to build a present on. The family member you endured out of obligation, At 50, you finally give yourself permission to love them from a distance. This doesn't make you cold, it makes you honest. Not everyone is meant for the whole journey. Some people are chapter characters. They teach you what you needed to learn at that moment, then exit stage left. Trying to keep them in every chapter, out of guilt, nostalgia, or fear, just makes everyone miserable. I learned to let go without bitterness, to honor what was without demanding it continue. Some people taught me lessons I needed at 20 that I don't need at 60. That doesn't erase the gift. It just means the lesson is complete. You'll know when it's time, your body will tell you. The conversations feel like work. The interactions feel forced. You're performing connection instead of feeling it. And when that happens, you have two choices. Keep pretending, keep forcing it, keep dragging a corpse around and calling it friendship. Or release it with gratitude and walk forward lighter. One choice is easier, the other is better. Choose better. Truth 6. Rest isn't laziness, it's intelligence, and you're not that important. I used to think exhaustion was proof of virtue. If I wasn't tired, if I wasn't working hard enough, if I wasn't overwhelmed, I wasn't doing it right. So I burned and burned and burned until I collapsed. And you know what happened when I collapsed? The thing I thought only I could do, other people figured it out. The world kept spinning, nothing fell apart. Turns out I wasn't irreplaceable. I was just unwilling to be replaced. There's a certain arrogance in martyrdom. In believing you're the only person capable of holding everything together, you're not. Look, I respect the hustle. I really do. But there's a difference between hard work and self-destruction dressed up as ambition. Steve Jobs revolutionized technology, changed how we interact with the world, became a legend. He still died. Apple continued. Kobe Bryant dominated basketball, inspired millions, achieved everything. He still died. The NBA continued. You know what these examples tell me? That nobody, not you, not me, not anyone, is so critical that the world stops when they rest. So why are we killing ourselves pretending we are? Rest isn't something you earn after the work is done. The work is never done. There's always one more email, one more project, one more thing you should probably do. Rest is part of the work. Because tired people make terrible decisions. They stay in bad situations longer because they're too exhausted to leave. They snap at people they love. They miss the details that matter. They burn bridges they didn't mean to burn. And then they wonder why everything's falling apart. It's falling apart because you're running on fumes and calling it dedication. I started scheduling rest like I schedule meetings. Non-negotiable. Sacred. Because being tired doesn't make me valuable. It makes me vulnerable. And the world doesn't reward vulnerability. It exploits it. Truth 7. Success doesn't feel how you think it will. It feels like Tuesday. You reach the goal, you get the thing. You achieve the milestone, and then nothing. Not in a bad way, just in an, oh, that's it kind of way. Like showing up to a party everyone said would change your life and realizing it's just a party. I thought achievement would make me feel complete. It just made me tired and looking for the next thing. Because here's the secret nobody shares about success. It doesn't fill holes. It reveals them. You think, once I get promoted, I'll feel confident. You get promoted. You still feel like a fraud. You think once I hit 6 figures, I'll feel secure. You hit 6 figures. You still worry about money. You think once people respect me, I'll respect myself. People respect you. You still feel like you're performing. Success is a magnifying glass. It doesn't create problems. It makes your existing problems impossible to ignore. The insecurity you had when you were broke? Still there when you're rich. Just wearing designer clothes? The loneliness you felt when you were unknown? Still there when you're famous, just surrounded by people who don't actually know you. I'm not saying don't pursue success. I'm saying don't expect it to fix you. Fix you first, then pursue success. Or better yet, redefine what success means. Because whoever sold you the idea that success looks like money, status, and achievement, they were selling you something, and you bought it. For me, success stopped being about achievement. It became about peace. Can I sleep at night without my thoughts attacking me? Can I look in the mirror without flinching? Can I be alone without needing distraction? That's success. Everything else is just a game we pretend matters because the alternative, admitting we don't know what matters, is too terrifying. Truth 8. Control is a beautiful lie we tell ourselves. You plan perfectly, execute flawlessly, do everything right, and it still falls apart. You follow the rules, work harder than everyone, play fair. Someone else wins. You love deeply, communicate clearly, show up consistently. They still leave. Not because you failed, just because that's how it works sometimes. Control is the most seductive lie we tell ourselves. If I just work harder, if I just plan better, if I just optimize more, I used to think discipline solved everything. That if I controlled enough variables, I could guarantee outcomes. But some things can't be controlled. Sometimes you interview perfectly and they hire someone's nephew. Sometimes you eat right and exercise daily and still get sick. Sometimes you're the best partner someone ever had and they still choose someone else. And there's nothing you can do about it. The world is chaos, wearing a suit and tie, pretending to follow rules. We create systems and routines and 5-year plans because the alternative, accepting we're mostly powerless, is existentially terrifying. But here's the paradox. The moment you stop trying to control everything is the moment you gain actual power. Not power over outcomes, power over yourself. You can't control whether you get the job, but you can control how you prepare and how you respond to rejection. You can't control whether they love you back, but you can control how you love yourself. You can't control the storm, but you can control whether you dance in the rain or hide under a table. This isn't resignation, it's liberation. When you stop wrestling with the uncontrollable, you have so much more energy for what actually matters. And what actually matters is always within your control. Your effort, your attitude, your integrity, your kindness, your honesty. Nobody can take those from you. Nobody can dictate how you show up. That's your kingdom. That's your power. Everything else, just weather passing through. Truth 9. Forgiveness isn't for them. It's so you can finally put down the knife. Here's a fun mental image. Imagine you're drinking poison every day and waiting for the other person to die. That's what holding grudges looks like from the outside. I carried anger for years, kept detailed records, replayed conversations on loop, imagined confrontations where I finally said the perfect comeback. You know what all that did? Nothing to them. They moved on. They forgot. But it hollowed me out like a rotting tree. I looked fine from the outside, but one strong wind would have knocked me over. Forgiveness isn't about them deserving it. It's about you deserving peace. And peace doesn't come from justice. It comes from release. I used to think forgiving meant saying, what you did was okay. It doesn't. It means I'm done letting this rent space in my head. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, doesn't mean reconciling, doesn't mean trusting them again. It just means you're evicting them from your internal dialogue. The person who hurt you 10 years ago, they're not thinking about you right now. They're watching Netflix. They're arguing about dinner plans. They're living their life. Meanwhile, you're stuck in that moment, pressing replay like a song you hate but can't stop listening to. Who's really being punished here? I wrote some thoughts about this once. About the weight of things. About learning to put them down. They're in the Wise Joe ebooks if you ever need something to sit with when it's quiet and heavy. Not advice, just company. But the lesson is this. Forgiveness is selfish in the best possible way. You're not doing it for them. You're doing it so you can finally use both hands for something other than carrying old pain. Truth 10. Loneliness and solitude are completely different, and you're confusing them. Loneliness is being surrounded by people who don't see you. Solitude is being alone and finally breathing. I used to fear silence, filled every moment with noise, plans, people, anything. Because silence meant confronting things I'd been avoiding, questions I didn't want to answer, truths I wasn't ready to face. But here's what I learned. The things you avoid in silence don't go away. They just get louder. Solitude is where clarity lives. It's where you hear what you actually think instead of what you've been told to think. Some of my best decisions came from sitting still long enough to hear my own voice. Not my parents' voice. Not society's voice. Not fear's voice. Mine. And once you hear it, everything changes. You stop seeking validation from people who don't understand you. You stop explaining yourself to people who aren't listening. You stop waiting for permission to be who you already are. Solitude isn't loneliness. It's the opposite. It's connection, just not with other people. Connection with yourself. The person you've been ignoring while you were busy being who everyone else needed you to be. Truth 11. Small choices compound into entire lives, and you're making them right now. You think the big moments define you. The wedding, the career change, the move across the country, they don't. It's the small ones, the ones you don't even notice. Choosing to go to the gym today, choosing to call your friend back, choosing to read instead of scroll, choosing to say no when you mean no. These feel insignificant. Background noise. Drops in the ocean. They're not. They're the ocean. I didn't become who I am because of one dramatic decision. I became who I am because of 1,000 tiny choices I made when nobody was watching. The choice to cook instead of order, to save instead of splurge, to have the uncomfortable conversation instead of avoiding it. None of these felt heroic. They felt ordinary. But ordinary repeated is extraordinary. You won't see results today, or tomorrow, or next month, but in 5 years, in 10, you'll look back and realize the person you are now was built one unremarkable choice at a time. And the person you want to become? Same process. Start small, start today, start without announcing it on social media. Because the life you want doesn't arrive fully formed. You build it, one decision at a time, one day at a time. And yeah, it's slower than you want, less dramatic than you imagined, more boring than the movies made it seem. But it works, and slow progress that lasts is better than fast progress that collapses. Truth 12. Peace isn't loud. It's the absence of needing to prove anything. Peace doesn't announce itself with fireworks and a press release. It's quiet, almost suspicious in its subtlety. It's the absence of needing to prove anything to anyone. I remember the first time I said no without explaining myself, without a dissertation on why I couldn't attend or help or participate. Just no, it felt illegal, like I'd broken some unspoken social contract. But nothing happened. The world didn't end. People didn't hate me. The ones who mattered understood. The ones who didn't matter. You stop justifying your boundaries when you realize they don't need approval. Boundaries aren't walls designed to keep people out. They're doors. And you decide who gets a key. For years, I thought being good meant being available, agreeable, easy. It doesn't. Being good means being honest, even when it disappoints people, especially when it disappoints people, because fake harmony isn't peace. It's just delayed conflict. Real peace comes from alignment. When your insides match your outsides, when what you say matches what you mean, when what you do matches what you value. That's rare. Most people are performing, playing roles, wearing masks so convincing they forgot there's a face underneath, and it's exhausting. The day you stop performing is the day you start living. Truth 13. Regret isn't cinematic. It's just empty space where something could have been. Regret isn't one big dramatic moment with dramatic music and slow motion. It's 100 tiny ones. The call you didn't make, the trip you postponed, the words you didn't say because you assumed there'd be time. Spoiler, there's never as much time as you think. I can't remember the last conversation I had with my father. It wasn't profound. It was probably about the weather or sports, something forgettable. Because I assumed there'd be another conversation, and another, and 1,000 more after that. There weren't. And now I can't remember what I wanted to say, or what he would have said back, or if any of it mattered. What I remember is absence. The phone calls I didn't make because I was busy. The visits I postponed because I was tired. The questions I didn't ask because I was distracted. That's regret. Not dramatic, just empty. You won't regret the things you tried and failed at. You'll regret the things you never tried at all. You'll regret the person you didn't tell you loved, the job you didn't apply for, the dream you didn't chase, the trip you didn't take. Not because you would have succeeded, but because you'll never know. And not knowing is worse than failing. So do it now, whatever it is. The scary thing, the uncertain thing, the thing that makes your stomach flip and your hands shake. Do it now while there's still time, while the person is still alive, while the door's still open. Because one day you'll look back and the window will be closed, and you'll be standing outside realizing you waited your whole life for the perfect moment. There is no perfect moment. There's just now. and now is running out faster than you think. Truth 14. You're stronger than you think, but not in the way you think. You've already survived things you thought would kill you. You're still here. That heartbreak that felt like dying, you survived it. That failure that crushed you, you survived it. That loss that hollowed you out, you survived it. You're tougher than you give yourself credit for. The problem is you keep comparing your current struggle to an imagined version of yourself that doesn't struggle. But that version doesn't exist. Everyone struggles. Everyone doubts. Everyone wants to quit sometimes. The difference is some people keep going anyway. Not because they're special, because they decided staying stuck was worse than the discomfort of moving forward. You have that same choice. Every single day you decide, stay here or take one step forward. It doesn't have to be a big step. It just has to be forward. Because forward is the only direction that matters. You don't need to see the whole staircase, just the next step. And you always can. Truth 15. Comparison is slow motion self-destruction. Social media turned comparison into a full-time job. You wake up, check your phone, see someone's highlight reel, feel inadequate before breakfast. Congratulations, you've poisoned your own morning. Here's the thing about comparison. You're comparing your behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel. You're comparing your chapter 3 to their chapter 20, your messy middle to their filtered ending. It's not a fair fight. It was never meant to be. That person with the perfect life on Instagram, their marriage is hanging by a thread, but they're not posting that. That entrepreneur who seems to have it all figured out, they're drowning in debt and anxiety. But that doesn't make for good content. Comparison isn't inspiration, it's theft. It steals your joy, your progress, your peace. I spent years feeling behind because everyone else seemed ahead. Then I realized they were just better at pretending. We're all making it up as we go. Some of us are just more honest about it. Truth 16. Busy is a socially acceptable form of laziness. Everyone's busy. It's the default response to how are you? Busy. So busy, crazy busy. As if busy is a badge of honor instead of a symptom of poor prioritization. You're not busy. You're distracted. You're filling your time with things that feel urgent but aren't important. There's a difference between productive and busy. Productive moves you forward. Busy keeps you spinning in place. I was busy for years, emails, meetings, errands, obligations, and at the end of each day, I couldn't point to anything that actually mattered. Busy is easy. It requires no thought. Just say yes to everything and let the chaos decide your priorities. Intentional is hard. It requires saying no, drawing boundaries, disappointing people. But intentional is the only way forward. Truth 17. Your younger self wouldn't recognize you, and that's not all bad. The person you were at 20 wouldn't understand the person you are now. The dreams changed. The values shifted. The things that mattered then feel trivial now. And that's, okay, we treat personal evolution like betrayal. Like growing means failing the person we used to be. But that younger version of you, they wanted you to grow, to learn, to become someone wiser. You haven't failed them. You've honored them by not staying stuck. I'm not the person I was at 25 or 35 or even last year, and I'm not trying to be. Growth means letting previous versions of yourself die, and that's uncomfortable because we love permanence. We want to believe there's a final form, a finished version. There isn't. You're always under construction, and the day you stop building is the day you start dying. Truth 18. Most problems solve themselves if you stop interfering. I'm about to say something that'll make productivity gurus angry. Sometimes the best action is inaction. We're taught to fix everything, immediately, aggressively. But some problems need time more than solutions. I spent years forcing outcomes, pushing, manipulating, trying to control every variable. You know what happened? I made everything worse. Some relationships need space, not conversation. Some conflicts need time, not intervention. Some situations need to play out naturally. This doesn't mean be passive. It means be strategic about where you spend your energy. Not every fire needs you to put it out. Some burn themselves out. And you standing there with a bucket isn't helping. You're just getting burned. Truth 19. Your parents were making it up too. Your parents didn't have it figured out. They were just older people doing their best with incomplete information. The things they taught you, some of it was wisdom. Some was trauma disguised as tradition. And you've spent your life trying to unlearn which was which. This isn't about blame. This is about freedom. Once you realize your parents were just people, flawed, scared, doing their best, you can stop waiting for their approval to live your life. You can honor what they gave you and reject what doesn't serve you. You can love them without being limited by them. Truth 20. Life gets quieter. And that's the whole point. Life gets quieter as you go. Not because it's emptier, because you stop filling it with noise. You stop explaining, stop performing, stop pretending. What's left is smaller, but it's real, and real is all that survives. You'll have fewer friends, but the ones you have will actually know you. You'll have fewer commitments, but the ones you keep will actually matter. You'll have fewer words, but the ones you say will actually mean something. This isn't loss, it's refinement. You're not becoming less, you're becoming clear. And clarity is the most valuable thing you can have, because once you're clear on what matters, everything else becomes noise. And noise is just distraction wearing importance as a costume. So you let it go, not with bitterness, not with judgment, just with quiet certainty. And what remains? Love, purpose, peace, connection. The things that were real all along. The things that can't be taken. The things that don't need defending or explaining. That's what 40 years teaches you. Not that life gets easier, but that you get stronger. Not that pain goes away, but that you learn to carry it differently. Not that everything works out, but that you work it out. One day at a time, one choice at a time, one breath at a time. And before you know it, you've built a life. Not the life you imagined, the life you earned. And that's better, because it's yours. That's all I've got. 40 years of lessons nobody explains because they're too busy pretending they have it all figured out. Nobody has it figured out. We're all just walking in the dark, hoping our eyes adjust before we hit a wall. But they do adjust if you keep walking. So keep walking. You're stronger than you know, wiser than you think, more capable than you believe. And the person you're becoming, they're already proud of you, I promise.